I never imagined that one conversation could upend everything. Yet there I was, seated in our sleek downtown break room, still rattled by Tyler's challenge. Prove to me that your vision isn't just a passing fancy. His tone was a ruthless blend of challenge and unsettling intimacy, and his piercing gaze carried a bite none of our earlier talks had. Fresh out of college at 22, I had stepped into this competitive arena with nothing but ambition and a hunger to prove myself. Tyler, a senior manager with razor-sharp insights and uncompromising standards, had taken me under his wing from day one. At first, his guidance felt like the natural course of mentorship, constructive criticism, occasional personal advice, and clear career direction. But as weeks slipped by, I began noticing subtle shifts in his demeanor that stirred a potent mix of excitement and trepidation. In the early days, his compliments about my work and our one-on-one exchanges seemed purely professional, a part of his meticulous managerial style. However, over time, there was something off-kilter about his approach. Simple gestures, a gaze that lingered a beat too long when I presented an idea, a fleeting touch on my shoulder during a tense meeting, or a pause that stretched uncomfortably after a routine comment, suggested that his interest might extend beyond the professional realm. Each of these moments hinted at hidden depths I wasn't sure I wanted to explore. Then, on one crisp afternoon, after a marathon of back-to-back meetings, I noticed Tyler's office door left slightly ajar. A cocktail of curiosity and a prickling sense of unease compelled me to take a peek inside. Amidst meticulously arranged files and a solitary framed quote on the wall, our eyes locked across the room. Tyler had just set aside a stack of papers, and in a hushed, almost conspiratorial tone he murmured, "You have no idea how special your perspective is." There was an unexpected warmth in his voice that clashed violently with the clinical formality of our surroundings. I offered a small, uncertain smile, caught between the urge to respond and the impulse to let that moment vanish into nothingness. That quiet exchange left me with the understanding that I needed to be more attentive, not only to my work but also to the growing ambiguity in our interactions. Later that evening, after the office had emptied and I found myself alone in my small apartment, I replayed the day's events in my mind. Tyler's words had unsettled me, yet they also sparked a peculiar kind of excitement. I had always prided myself on being rational and focused, but now I felt caught in a silent struggle, the desire to explore these new, undefined feelings versus the necessity to remain professional and true to myself. Over the following days, our interactions grew increasingly layered and complex. Tyler began inviting me to lunch at a quiet, upscale bistro in the very heart of the city. One such afternoon, I arrived at the restaurant to find a private table tucked away in a secluded corner. Tyler had arranged everything with a meticulous attention to detail, ordering an expensive bottle of wine and ensuring that the setting was discreet and intimate. The atmosphere was modern and polished, a perfect backdrop for serious discussion. Although our conversation ostensibly centered on my career prospects and the future of our department, I couldn't help but notice the subtext in his carefully chosen words. "You should think more about what you truly want," he advised in a tone that was both measured and personal. "Your talent is undeniable, and you have the potential to redefine your future if you dare to look beyond the conventional." As he spoke, his hand brushed mine briefly, a gesture intended to be supportive that sent a shiver of uncertainty through me. At that moment, I reassured myself that it was simply the enthusiasm of a dedicated mentor, a belief that such remarks were an essential part of bolstering a young professional's confidence. Yet, deep down, I sensed there was something more at play, a subtle invitation to cross an unspoken boundary that went far beyond the realm of traditional mentoring. As our lunch came to an end and we stepped out into the warm afternoon light, I felt an odd mixture of anticipation and apprehension. The gentle hum of the city around us only amplified the intensity of my inner conflict. Returning to the office the next day, I tried to refocus on my tasks, yet Tyler's presence seemed to permeate every corner of my workday. Every meeting, every casual encounter in the hallway, carried a faint hint of that unresolved tension. I began to scrutinize every interaction, the way he leaned in a little too closely when discussing new projects, or how his compliments sometimes verged on being overly personal. It was as though each gesture was a carefully calibrated test, designed to reveal whether I was open to exploring a connection that defied the ordinary boundaries of a professional dynamic. Late one evening, as I sat at my desk working to meet a pressing deadline, Tyler approached unexpectedly. The office had already emptied. The only sound was the soft, persistent hum of the air conditioner. "I want you to know," he said quietly, "that I see something truly remarkable in you." His words were calm, but behind them lay an unmistakable edge of intensity that left me momentarily disoriented. I looked up from my computer, caught off guard by his direct, unwavering gaze. In that charged silence, I realized that our relationship had already begun to transform, from strictly professional boundaries to a more complex and uncertain dynamic, laden with unspoken meaning. I felt a surge of conflicting emotions: gratitude for the recognition of my abilities, apprehension about the implications of his personal attention, and a cautious curiosity about where these ambiguous signals might lead. I resolved then to maintain my composure, to keep my focus on my work, and to preserve the integrity of my own goals, even as I acknowledged that every interaction with Tyler now carried a deeper, unspoken significance. That marked the beginning of an unsettling shift, one that blurred the lines between mentorship and something far more personal. I was standing at a crossroads, caught between my ambition and the innate human desire for connection. Every step I took from that moment on would shape not only my professional future but also the unfolding narrative of a relationship that had quietly redefined what it meant to be truly seen. In the weeks that followed, the evolution of our relationship continued in unexpected ways. Tyler's mentoring sessions grew longer and more frequent. Each meeting seemed to be imbued with a mix of professional guidance and something that felt almost like a personal confession. During one such session, as we reviewed my progress on a particularly challenging project, he leaned back in his chair and said, "You're evolving not just as a professional, but as someone with a unique vision. I'd like to help you push your boundaries even further." His statement left me with a lingering sense of both anticipation and apprehension. I couldn't tell if his offer was purely about my professional growth or if he hoped to draw me into a more personal realm of connection. There were moments, too, when I caught glimpses of his inner conflict. I remembered a quiet moment by the window in his office, where I saw him staring out at the sprawling city skyline, as though weighing the gravity of decisions unspoken. It was during one such moment that he asked me, "Do you ever feel like you're at a crossroads, where every choice might redefine who you are?" His question was simple yet profound, striking a chord deep within me. I replied thoughtfully, "Every day I think about what my choices mean, not just for my career, but for the person I want to become." The honesty of that exchange felt like a turning point, a subtle acknowledgement that the stakes were not solely professional, but also deeply personal. Then, one rainy afternoon, as I stayed late to finish an urgent report, I found myself alone in the quiet office. The rain tapped steadily against the windows, setting a contemplative mood that was both melancholic and introspective. Just as I was about to pack up my things, I heard footsteps approaching. Tyler entered silently, carrying 2 steaming cups of coffee. "I thought you might need this," he said with a half-smile that carried both warmth and a hint of unspoken promise. We sat together in the dim light, the only sounds being the soft hum of the air conditioner and our quiet conversation. It was in these vulnerable moments that I sensed the shifting dynamics most acutely, a transformation from a relationship grounded solely in professional respect to one that carried the weight of personal implication. The following week, our interactions continued to blur the lines between work and personal life. At our next team meeting, as I presented ideas for a new project, I became acutely aware of Tyler's focused attention. His eyes were not merely on my words, they were on every subtle expression that crossed my face. After the meeting, he approached me with a thoughtful smile and said, "You truly have an innovative perspective." He placed a reassuring hand on my arm, a gesture brief and almost casual, yet now carrying an unspoken invitation that deepened the intrigue. I couldn't help but wonder if his enthusiasm was purely professional or if there was another layer hidden beneath the surface of his praise. Outside the confines of the office, the boundaries between work and personal life continued to blur further. One crisp Saturday morning, I received an unexpected text message from Tyler. "I'm heading to the art exhibit downtown. Would you care to join? I think you'd appreciate the creative atmosphere." Though I hesitated, aware that such invitations were becoming more frequent, curiosity eventually got the better of me, and I agreed. At the exhibit, a gallery filled with modern art and abstract installations, the ambience was vibrant and, at the same time, enigmatic. The space seemed to mirror the conflicting emotions I had been grappling with, beauty intertwined with an undercurrent of tension. Tyler and I wandered through the gallery side by side. Occasionally, he would pause before a painting to share a brief insight that felt both poetic and intimate. "Art," he mused softly, "reminds us that beauty can emerge from chaos, and that sometimes the most daring ideas come from breaking the rules. His words resonated with me, evoking a sense of possibility and daring that I had rarely experienced before. As the evening wore on, I found myself opening up about my ambitions, vulnerabilities, and the risks inherent in challenging convention. Over coffee at a nearby CAF? After the exhibit, our conversation took on an even more reflective tone. We discussed our personal philosophies, the winding paths that had led us to our current lives, and the challenges of pursuing one's dreams in a competitive world. Tyler's tone was gentle yet persuasive as he spoke about the necessity of embracing change. Sometimes, he said, you have to let go of the familiar to grow. Though his words were not overtly personal, they seemed directed at me in a way that blurred the line between mere advice and a deeper, more intimate invitation. Back at work the following week, I became increasingly attuned to the subtle signals around me. Tyler's mentoring sessions evolved into prolonged discussions that touched on both professional and personal growth. During one particularly lengthy review of my progress on a complex project, he remarked, "Your vision is evolving. I believe you have the potential to redefine not only your career but also who you are as a person." His statement left me with a cocktail of emotions, excitement tempered by a cautious apprehension about where this evolving relationship might lead. I began keeping a journal, noting every significant interaction and the thoughts they stirred within me, hoping that through reflection I might gain the clarity needed to navigate this complex terrain. As weeks turned into months, the intensity of our encounters grew. The once clearly defined boundaries between mentorship and personal connection became increasingly ambiguous. Every conversation, every gesture, and every lingering look carried layers of meaning that I was only beginning to understand. One particularly striking evening, as I prepared to leave the office after a day filled with both triumphs and trials, Tyler invited me to join him for dinner at a private restaurant known for its dim lighting and reflective ambience. There, amidst the quiet murmur of fellow diners and the soft strains of background music, we spoke candidly about our fears, aspirations, and the inherent risks of venturing into uncharted territory. Tyler expressed his hope that our connection, if nurtured carefully, could serve as a catalyst for growth for us both, a notion that left me with more questions than answers. I stressed the importance of preserving mutual respect and maintaining a clear focus on our professional goals, even as the conversation drifted toward the personal. By the end of our dinner, we mutually agreed to take a step back, to allow time for reflection, and to re-establish boundaries that had been gradually compromised over time. This bittersweet decision marked a turning point. It promised clarity, yet it also forced us to confront the emotional cost of blurring lines that had once been distinct. As I left the restaurant that night, I experienced a mix of relief and lingering curiosity about what the future might hold. In the silence that followed, I recognized that the path ahead would require careful deliberation, each decision carrying the weight of both reward and risk, shaping not only my career but also my evolving personal identity. In the following days, as I returned to the steady rhythm of work, Tyler and I maintained a respectful distance. Our interactions, though still marked by occasional words of encouragement and brief exchanges in meetings, took on a more measured tone. I began to appreciate that the lessons gleaned from our complex journey were not solely about professional ambition or personal desire, but about the importance of maintaining one's integrity amid emotional turbulence. I redoubled my efforts to focus on my work, channeling the insights I had gained into creative and innovative projects. Yet, every so often, I would catch a glimpse of Tyler's gaze lingering just a moment too long, a reminder that the unspoken connection between us was still very much alive. One cool morning, as I prepared for a challenging new project, an unexpected email from Tyler arrived in my inbox. In it, he expressed his sincere hope that we had both found clarity in the time apart and that, in the future, we might rebuild our connection on healthier, mutually respectful terms. His words were measured, respectful, and carried a quiet determination, a gentle invitation to consider a future where our collaboration could flourish without the risk of crossing boundaries that had once threatened to undermine our professional integrity. That moment of correspondence felt like a turning point, a reaffirmation of the transformative journey we had both experienced. It was a reminder that while our relationship had evolved from a strictly professional mentor-mentee dynamic to something far more complex, the lessons we had learned were timeless. I embraced the quiet promise of tomorrow with a steady heart and a clear vision, resolved to move forward while carrying with me the wisdom of past lessons and the hope of establishing a genuine, respectful connection. In the weeks and months that followed, our paths gradually began to realign. Tyler and I resumed our professional interactions with a renewed sense of purpose, each meeting and conversation now imbued with the understanding that both personal growth and career success were intertwined. I continued to explore my potential, pushing boundaries in my work while also carefully preserving the integrity of my personal identity. The once murky lines between mentorship and personal connection had been redrawn, not erased, but redefined in a way that allowed us to honor both our ambitions and our need for genuine, human interaction. Looking back on that transformative period, I realized that every encounter, every word, and every unspoken gesture contributed to a profound personal evolution. The uncertainty that had once been both thrilling and intimidating gradually gave way to a balanced perspective, one where the courage to embrace change was tempered by the wisdom to set healthy boundaries. And while the future remained uncertain, I was confident that I had gained the resilience to shape my own destiny, carrying forward the legacy of a mentor whose influence had sparked a journey of self-discovery. Now, as I reflect on those days with a sense of quiet determination, I understand that life is a tapestry woven from the threads of both ambition and connection. Tyler's influence had opened doors I never knew existed, guiding me toward a future where every interaction carried the promise of transformation. It was a journey that demanded both courage and careful reflection, a journey that redefined what it meant to be truly seen and understood. With each new challenge that emerged, I was reminded of that pivotal moment in the quiet break room, of the words that had set my future in motion. And as I continue to navigate the complex interplay between professional growth and personal identity, I do so with a renewed commitment to honor the lessons of the past while embracing the endless possibilities of tomorrow. In this ever-changing landscape of ambition, connection, and self-realization, I have learned that true progress is measured not only by the achievements we accumulate but by the courage to listen to our inner voice, even when that voice dares us to redefine the boundaries of our world. And so, with every step forward, I carry with me the indelible mark of a mentor's guidance and the quiet promise that, in the end, every conversation, every single word, has the power to change everything. As the weeks passed and the seasons began to change, a quiet transformation took hold not only in the office but also deep within me. The early turbulence of our blurred boundaries had given way to a more deliberate process of self-discovery and acceptance. I began to notice that the internal conflict that had once raged between professional ambition and personal desire was now tempered by a newfound clarity. With each day, I found myself better able to articulate my own needs and set boundaries that honored both my career aspirations and my emotional well-being. Tyler's presence, once so overwhelming and ambiguous, evolved into a respectful reminder of the lessons we had learned together. Our interactions, though less charged with unspoken tension, still carried the weight of the past, each carefully chosen word and measured glance a testament to the growth we had both undergone. I had started to view our early encounters as not merely a test of my professional mettle, but as pivotal moments that catalyzed a broader exploration of identity and intimacy. I began investing more time in my personal life, reconnecting with old friends and rediscovering interests that had long been set aside in the pursuit of success. The long, contemplative walks I took in the evenings became sacred rituals, moments when I could reflect on the interplay of ambition and emotion without distraction. In those quiet hours, the city lights shimmered like distant promises, and I came to understand that the path I was forging was uniquely my own, a mosaic of dreams, challenges, and hard-won realizations. Tyler, too, seemed to embark on his own journey. Our mentoring sessions, which had once been punctuated by hints of deeper, unspoken desire, slowly shifted back to a foundation of professional growth and mutual respect. We agreed to recalibrate our relationship, consciously choosing to preserve the integrity of our work while still acknowledging the human connection that had sparked our earlier encounters. In doing so, we both recognized that maturity sometimes requires making difficult choices, letting go of what once felt indispensable in order to embrace a future built on clarity and self-respect. One evening, after a particularly productive day at the office, I received an invitation from Tyler to attend a workshop on leadership and emotional intelligence. The invitation, written in his characteristically thoughtful tone, was not just a call to further professional development, it was an acknowledgement of the inner journey we were both on. Attending the workshop, I found myself surrounded by others who, like me, were grappling with the balance between personal growth and career success. In the shared stories and insights, I sensed a collective understanding that our struggles were not isolated but part of a larger tapestry of human experience. As the workshop concluded and I stepped out into the crisp night air, I felt a profound sense of renewal. The tension that had once clouded my interactions with Tyler was replaced by a calm determination to continue evolving, both as a professional and as a person. I realized that the complexities of our past did not have to dictate the future. Instead, they could serve as a foundation upon which I built a more authentic version of myself. Over time, our once ambiguous relationship transformed into one characterized by honest dialogue and clear boundaries. We met occasionally for coffee or lunch, our conversations now focused on shared experiences and future possibilities rather than hidden meanings. I learned to celebrate my achievements independently, finding satisfaction in knowing that my success was not defined by the intensity of our connection, but by my own perseverance and willingness to embrace change. In the final analysis, what began as a seemingly unpredictable twist in my career had evolved into a profound journey of self-realization. I emerged from that period not only with new professional insights but also with a deeper understanding of the delicate interplay between ambition and personal fulfillment. Each step I took, every decision I made, was now imbued with the wisdom gleaned from past uncertainties, a reminder that true growth lies in the courage to listen to one's inner voice and to trust in the unfolding process of life. Standing at the threshold of a new chapter, I knew that the lessons learned from my time with Tyler would remain with me, guiding me as I navigated future challenges with resilience, compassion, and unwavering clarity. The path ahead was illuminated not just by the glow of city lights or the promise of professional success, but by the steady light of self-awareness and the transformative power of embracing one's true self.